So evening, just like I said earlier, it's going to actually be a short meeting because we are me myself being a soccer fan. I find it difficult when soccer is ongoing and I'm being distracted. So we are just going to take one or two questions, then we call it a day, please. So evening, how is everybody doing? Hope we're all doing great. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening, sir.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. At least I've gotten a feedback. Thank you. So please, like we said, we are actually from our previous sessions, we've actually been doing Q&A sessions. So it's actually a question and answer session. If you have any question that you feel needs to be attended to, you can easily bring it up here so that we can answer it. Someone asked me within the week. I want to start like this. Someone asked me within the week, who happens to be on this meeting here on this group. He asked if what are the necessary tools needed for someone that is actually a starter in solar installation. For any starter that is in or that is thinking of going into solar installation, what are the basic tools they need? You understand? So I said I deliberately didn't want to answer him because I felt it's going to be something that we should think of bringing it here. We should think of bringing it here. So someone asked within the week, what what uh, what are the tools needed for solar installations? What for a beginner, somebody that wants to go into solar installations? So basically, I want us to answer this question. Okay, Mohammed, you're joining us. Since you're just joining us, we just started. So let me just the first question that it's a Q&A session. So somebody asked within the week. Somebody that happens to be part of us here asked me within the week, what are the basic tools a starter needs for to be a solar technician or solar to be a solar technician that is starting up. What does he need? So I think the best way to answer this question is we have to look at these things. We have to categorize it into parts, into several. We have to categorize this solar installation stuff into we just have to break it down. Okay, let me use the word, we have to break it down. First, if you look at solar installation, the first thing we always talk about is we talk about the outside aspect of it, the outside aspect of it that has to do with the solar panels that are installed on rooftops. You understand? So, what are the tools you need to do that? What are the basic tools you need to do that? Let's look at, first of all, let's look at the solar aspect of it, installation of the solar panels. The basic tools, like I said, it's like I have always said, is in this part of the country, or basically elsewhere, everywhere, solar mostly are installed on rooftops. You understand? Basically, solar panels are installed on rooftops because those are the available spaces. That is the place we have available space and is free from interference. You understand? It's actually free from interference. So our rooftop installation is very common. Kai, oh, God Almighty, Georgia, one goal against Spain. Oh, to. So the rooftop is always where we install our solar panels that where we wouldn't have any interference. We have access to the sun. The sun will fall on it adequately, and no interference, no tampering and whatever. So first thing first is, how do you access the rooftop? You need a safety, you need a ladder. You understand? You need a ladder. So in the case of tools needed, number one is we will need a ladder. You understand? We will need a ladder so that we can access the rooftop. A safe ladder. I prefer using the standard types of ladder, which are aluminum types, foldable ladders. They are actually safe because they have actually been designed. Not all these types of ladders that are made by our carpenters. You don't know the strength of materials. You don't know how strong the materials are. But when you talk of all these standard ladders, you discover that these ladders are actually made from materials They are made from materials that have their strength has been tested and has it's more of a standard ladder in the sense that it tells you the maximum load it can carry, all those things. So it's a professional ladder. You know, everything you're going to do is you have to what the first thing what matters in whatever you're going to be doing is safety. Safety is very, very important. So to access the rooftop, you need a ladder, you understand. So now if you're able to access the rooftop, then what next? How would you be safe on the rooftop? You understand? Remember, we talked about safety harnesses. You understand? We talked about safety harnesses. Let me see if I have pictures of the safety harnesses so that I can share with us. Safety harnesses. Very, very important. So, you know, we have to look at safety. Safety is actually very, very important. Safety is important. Safety is important. So let me see if I can get a picture of the safety harness so that harness for. So it's important when you get to the rooftop, you need a safety harness. Harness. What actually these ones do for you is help you. They help to get you tied. They help you to be tied on a rooftop. So these things are once you get to the rooftop, the next thing you need to do is you have to ensure that you are actually safe up there because hmm, so you have to be safe. I don't know. Is my screen shared? Is my screen shared?
Yes,
You-
it's true.
Okay, they come. Is it actually visible? Is it visible? Is it very large? Is it okay? Or is because I'm trying to see how I can. I'm trying to see how I can. Okay. Okay, I'm coming 1 minute. Let me see if I can get a bigger picture. So this is a picture. I think I have a bigger picture now of a safety harness. Okay, so this one's. Let me stop sharing this. So let me share another one. The snip tool. I'm coming. It's okay. Okay, fine. I think we'll get a better picture now. Oh, why is it? Why is it like this? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. 1 minute, please. You know, at times these technical things can be very funny. Okay, I've seen where I'm going to share it. Okay. So can you see this?
Yes, you can see
Okay.
it, sir.
Okay, that's a safety harness. You understand? That's a safety harness. I will also want to share that foldable ladders I've talked about. I talked earlier because these things are very, very important. Foldable. So these things are very, so that was what the person asked me that what are the basic tools you need for this type of job? I told him, okay, I deliberately, just like I said, I deliberately didn't want to say anything. I said, no, we're going to share it to the class so that everybody will see what we're talking about and what is needed. So you've seen that one. Let me share the ladder I talked about earlier. So let me share the ladder I talked about earlier. Okay. So this is a typical example of a foldable ladder. Can you see it?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, these are actually better ladders in the sense that they are actually tested and they have strength of the material is known. It's actually classified into the. It is classified. You'll actually see it's specified with the weight it can carry. You understand? So it's a more professional. It's a more professional thing tool to work with than the ordinary ladders that carpenters do, which we don't know the strength of materials and all those things. So please, for safety, so this is that. So these are the tools. Then we talked about if you access the roof, if you're using a ladder, the next thing is you need a safety harness to tie yourself up at the rooftop. Then what next? Once you tie yourself on the rooftop and the roof you're there to work, the next thing you'll be doing is assembling of rails on the rooftop. So assembling of rail on the rooftop. So mostly depending on the type of the roof, if the roof comes with a metal, if the roof is made from a metal rafter, that is, if it's made from a metal rafter, then you may need you may need the aluminum rails, quite all right, but you may need to drill the aluminum rails, then pass some bolt and nut to tie them to the metal rafter. So you will need. So in that case, what we actually need for tying and loosing is your set of spanners. You understand? If it's a metal if it's a roof made with metal rafters, you understand, it means you have to use bolts and nuts to tie them to tie your aluminum rails. So the tools you basically need to tie the bolts and nut are basically your spanner, your torque wrench, you understand. So those are the ones. Then if it's a roof that is made from a wooden rafter, which is very common with our residential buildings here, you need a bolt and a thread, a screw type of, how do I put it, a rough type of a screw, a screw with a rough thread, rather. A screw with a rough thread that you will now tie into the wood, you understand, to screw into the wood, just like our screws that we use screwdrivers. But this what do we call it, these screws are actually is it tappet or something they called it, the tappet screws, I think. Let me see, so that I can explain better. They call them tappet screws. Good. I think they are tappet screws. They are actually they actually have rough threads. Understand? I will share it so that we can see how they are. Yeah, wow. So let me share them for our sake so that we see what we are actually talking about. So so for can you see the type of screws we're talking about here? If you see these screws actually have a sort of a rough thread that can be used to tie onto a wooden rafter. So this type of screws actually are very good in the sense that once they tie an aluminum rail to a wooden rafter, you discover that it will hardly lose. You understand? So once it is fastened properly, you have no fear of issues of, say, wind or whatever will remove these things. You understand? So that is why we use this type of screws. If you look at the thread, the way the thread is actually rough. So then you need a spanner, or there's this electric rechargeable hand screwing machines that we actually use. So these ones will actually help you in tying this type of screws, because using spanners to tie this one will make you to actually get tired. You understand? So you get tired once you tie one or two of this, but with a rechargeable type of what do we call it? With a rechargeable type of hand drilling machine or rechargeable screwing machine, it makes it easier for you. Let me show you the picture of a rechargeable screwdriver. You understand? Screwdriver. Chargeable, chargeable screw. Yeah.
No, sir, we can't see it.
Can you see it? Sorry, you didn't. Somebody just answered no. I didn't. So let me share something that you could actually, that is actually another tool for a solar. So you could, at least you can see we're getting one, two, one, two. You know, you could see, you can see something like this. This is actually a rechargeable a screwdriver that you could actually change the head here to be like what do we call it, you could change it so that it could actually be used to tie those rough screws I actually showed earlier. So these are the, you know, one advantage you have with this is once your batteries are charged, you go up there working, you don't have issues of say cables, running cables, since it's rechargeable. So you will just be doing your work up there without being disturbed with power outages or whatever. So that's the advantage. So this is another tool needed in solar installation. This is another tool needed in solar installation for installing solar at the solar panels on the rooftop. It's actually a very, very important tool. So as most especially if you are working on roofs that have wooden rafter where you need to screw those rough screws to help tie your aluminum rails for your solar panels. So in fact, the function of this doesn't just stop there. It can be helpful tying things, you understand, tying your cabinets, tying so many things. When you come to tie your solar panels, it will actually be of help to you. So you see, it makes your work easier. You know, working on height, you can actually get tired, but once you have the necessary tools, you understand, it makes your work easier and it also makes your work faster. So that is that. So I think then the next thing, I think we've talked about this now. If you go to the rooftop, because I'm giving it a step-by-step approach so that we actually know what we need. So we've talked about our need for this. We talked about our need for this. Then other tying tools, you know, once on the roof, you need other tying tools like your screwdrivers, normal tying tools, the tools, normal tools you use to tie the stuff, screwdrivers, spanners of various sizes. So those are the tools actually needed for solar installation on the rooftop. Then the next thing you also need is, since you're actually working on the solar panels, that's either on the roof or that's outside. Another thing you need is you need a multimeter. A multimeter. Why do you need a multimeter? You need a multimeter to test your solar panels to know whether they are working well. You understand? You also need the multimeter to identify the terminals of your solar panels, to identify which one is positive, which one is negative. So all those things, you know, it matters a lot, especially when you come to connect those panels in parallel or in series. You need to know which one is positive, which one is negative. So you need a multimeter. A multimeter is something that is we're all familiar with, you understand, but I will still share the picture so that we have it. DC multimeter is very, very important. Preferably a clamp meter, you understand. You know, clamp meters are multimeters incorporated with ammeter that you can actually use to measure current. So you need preferably an ammeter, because you know your measurement of current in solar installations is very, very important. There are times you need to measure the current to know the current flowing in your cables. So preferably an ammeter is good. If you get an ammeter, it's fine, you understand, because it will also do the work of the multimeter and it will also help you to clamp and measure current. I hope you are seeing my screen. That is a typical example of an ammeter. As a typical example of an ammeter. We have a wide variety of them in the market. So that's a typical example of an ammeter. So it's also a tool used for solar installation, especially at the rooftop. It helps you to measure the voltages across the terminals, across each solar panel. It also helps you to measure the voltage on each solar panel, and it also helps you to measure the current. There is also another meter that I know we're not too conversant with, but I also want us to, if it's possible, I think that it's even a good one. It's they call it MPPT meter. MPPT meter. So it's actually a very good meter. So it's somewhere. It can actually, for those of us that were talking of, were asking how do we identify, how do we know whether a solar panel is delivering its rated power? The best way to do it is actually the use of an MPPT meter. So it's becoming. I just saw it. I think it's actually a good one in the sense that if it will tell you the wattage that is actually coming from your solar panel. If you look at it, if you connect it to your solar panel, it tells you. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so there's this MPPT meter, solar MPPT meter, that is actually also a good one. You know, if you can look at, if you see this one that way, if you see this, if you observe the one we're seeing on the screen, you see P max, that's power max 215 watts, voltage maximum voltage 47.8, IMP 40, current, that's current produced. So if you look at what do we say here, you understand, you can test. There's a auto test, so it actually helps you to test the power on a solar panel, power generated by one particular solar panel. You understand? So all these issues of how do we identify which solar panel is it actually properly rated, is it not properly rated, is it not, you understand, all these questions has actually been solved with this. So with the help of this, if you go to buy your solar panel, you just plug it into this and fine, you test it. You understand? Once you are getting, you may not get everything, but once you're getting a reasonable, like I think what was, if you look at this screen, it could be they were measuring a 250 watt solar panel, and since they are having 215, it's actually reasonable. It shows that the solar panel is actually delivering. You understand? When you go to buy a 250 watts and you're seeing 120, you should know that there's an issue. So it tells you a lot. It's actually a very good tool for solar installation as well. You understand? So it's actually a very good tool for solar installation. So that is that, I think, for the solar installation part of it. You understand? That is that for the solar installation part of it. I wouldn't want us to go deeper because just like I said earlier, we have I want to go and watch this hot match that is ongoing, and at least I didn't want us to just waste the week like this. I wanted us to discuss something. So I believe at least we have been able to discuss something. You understand? So I don't know if there's any question or addition or suggestion. Anyone? Any question or hello? Oh, hello. Yes, boss.
Hello, engineer.
Okay, yeah, because
Yeah, so we are here.
the silence is something. Yes, I felt
The
it
silence
was
was
too
too
much,
much,
but
Abi.
no, at least we've been able to discuss something
Yes.
today. That was what I suggested. But did you get me up to my last statement?
Yes, when we were talking about the
Yes, sir.
MPPT meters, right? Yes. I think I have
Okay,
been on all through. It's just that I was doing some
no
work
problem. It's
separately.
fine. It's fine. So
Yes.
that's
Yes.
fine. It's okay. If we don't have any question, just like I said, we could just call it a day. At least
Yes.
we've been able to discuss something today. Okay.
Yes. But then I think a thing of concern is our number is dropping. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is it because we were not able to converge yesterday?
last week.
The last Sunday.
I no, but I think earlier on we had I think we had a reasonable number. I don't know, maybe network or whatever dropped some people.
Yeah, it could be network issues. But yeah, it could be network issues because I know here in Yola,
Yeah.
Adamawa, Gombe,
Yeah.
completely network was down
Oh,
since 1.
oh,
MTN.
Oh, that's bad. That's
So some areas are really having issues with MTN network.
yeah. I think
Like the on and off.
and you know a lot of our participants are from that axis, you understand. So I think it could be a
Yeah,
network issue, but thank God that we would have a recorded copy of it so that it, because even the
yes.
person that asked me the question, I don't think he's around here, so he could actually follow up with the videos. I will just share it on the platform. Anybody that, because we actually, this is an interesting part to touch, you understand.
Yes. Yes.
It's fine. So I so Rilwan, no question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to crack my head around one or two questions still. Okay, let me ask this. What would
Okay.
be, in your opinion, the right kind of configuration if you want to tap your power supply from a three-phase source? If you want
Yeah.
to charge your inverter,
Yes.
which will be the right way of connecting, making that getting the right kind of supply to be able to charge your inverter, which will be the ideal way of
Okay.
doing that.
If
Trying to
is
tap
it
from your
is it
DG
if you
or
okay, I don't understand it one. Are you trying to say if we okay, if you're trying to tap power from an inverter for that source of supply, source for charging an
yeah,
inverter
not yeah,
from a
yeah. Let me. I think I used the wrong word. Not a source of supply. You want power source to be able to charge your inverter, and then event your solar panels are unavailable, or
okay,
maybe in the evening. So you
yes, sir.
want power supply coming in, whether generator or NEPA or whatever, which would be the ideal way of connecting, be able to connect from.
Okay, if you're connecting from a three phase, right?
Yeah.
Is that your
Yes.
question? Like
Yes.
a three phase
Yes.
inverter, you want a three phase power from your supply, right?
Let's say a single phase inverter, but you're taking from a three-phase supply. So that means you have to be able to connect from one of the phases that are coming in,
Basis.
right?
Okay, okay. So in that case,
To have
I
it balanced.
actually okay to have it balanced. You understand? Okay, good. I understand what you're saying. I understand absolutely what you're saying. You see, what you look at here is what you should look out here is okay, the three phase initially before the introduction of the inverter, the three phase was used to power a particular let's say a building or a system, you understand. So and you know if it's a three phase going to power a building, let's use a building now, three phase going into power a building, you understand, you know the three phase will definitely be the load will definitely be balanced across the three phase, you understand, the load will now be balanced across the three phase. So now you're bringing in an inverter system into this setup, you understand. Obviously, if you're bringing in an inverter on this three setup, you know, and your inverter is a single phase inverter, then it means you can't power the whole three phases at a time. Because it means you are actually going to be selective concerning your load. You understand? It means you're going to be selective concerning your load. So if you're selecting a particular load to be powered by the inverter, you understand. So you will now definitely, if what I normally do in this case is okay, if for example I have the red, yellow and blue phases, you understand, and majority of the load I want to power now are on the red phase, you understand, I will definitely have to isolate my red phase to make sure that the red phase is going to be the one going to the inverter, that's from the supply. It will be the one to go in the inverter, then now go out to the load, since majority of the load are on the red phase, you understand. So what I will just do now is the loads that are not desirable on the red phase, I will now move them to the remaining two phases. Obviously, you know, it's always difficult to have just a load, what do we have, what do we call them, load unit on inverter to be on one phase. So you definitely you have to move all those loads you need to a particular phase. Since your inverter is a single phase, you move them to a particular phase on the distribution board. So once you move them to one phase on the distribution board, you know that that phase is going to be the one that will be powered by the inverter. And obviously that phase will now be The input, if you're moving everything on your DB to the red phase, then obviously the input will have to be, you have to also take the input from the red phase to power your inverter. You understand? So, but you still need to do a lot of load. You need to do load balancing. You understand? Once, unless there was an initial plan that this is how this thing is going to be. Most of these inverters, we are actually introducing them now because of power high, because of power outages, because of hike in electricity, people want to go solar, or because of the interruption in power supply, people want to go solar. So that is why you see that you have to do a lot of modification. What you need to do is, if, for example, now you discover that after moving to one phase, now you discover that this particular phase becomes overloaded, definitely you have to do a lot of manipulation to balance the load towards the remaining two. You understand? So you have to do you have to look at this load balancing of a thing. Doesn't just stop at moving load to the inverter. You have to also check out, you understand? Mostly now in residential buildings, what we do is, if we go to install, you discover that emergency load where we don't need power outages, our television sets, our lighting, our fans, and our sockets, we group them to one phase. You understand? If we're grouping them to red phase, they will be on red phase. The air conditioning, the water heating, the electric cooking, whatever ironing points and whatever, we share them among the remaining phases. We share them between the two remaining phases. When we share them, we give them direct power. Then that particular one phase will now single it out, you understand, and use the corresponding input phase. If it's red, we are moving all our loads to the red phase. We move them to the red phase. Then we now take red phase from the input to power our inverter. But honestly, as I told you, there are times that it's not as easy. It's not very easy like this, because you discover that at times when you move the load to one phase, they become overloaded. There are even instances where you move them to one phase, they become overloaded. You have to move them to two phases, you understand, and introduce a second phase or a second inverter for the second phase, you understand. So there are times like that. I think I remember there was a project I did like that I had two phase. I had to use two phase. One phase I use it. Okay, it was a duplex. The first floor and the second floor. So initially the plan was we were to use one phase, and the house had its own transformer. You understand? It has its own transformer. So the design, what we actually proposed was a single phase inverter for the whole building. You understand? A 10 kVA for the whole building. But we later discovered that if we put 10 kVA on one phase, you understand, it will actually one phase will be overloaded from the transformer, you understand, which will make the transformer unbalanced. So what we just did was, okay, top floor, we gave it 5 kVA on red phase, everything, you understand. Then on the ground floor, we came to the next phase, which is the yellow phase, and gave it another 5 kVA. You see, we have actually divided it to make the load to be balanced, you understand. So I don't know if this answers your question, Rilwan.
Yeah, it does. It does. I wanted to just get your opinion on it. Understand all these nitty-gritties. You know, I've been in it for a long while.
Yes, sir.
But basically, sometimes this explanation helps in handy, because one of the biggest challenges we have in this industry is that there are a lot of people that do not really understand the challenges and how these things work. So be able to explain to people how to understand in the way they could be understanding in a simpler way is pretty much hard. So sometimes when we try to this kind of forum, when you hear different opinions, you're able to
Yes.
think how to, because relating to people is very important.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that to be able to transmit those information, I think it's one of the hardest things I've seen since being in this industry for some time.
Yes,
So to
yes,
be
yes.
able to communicate and explain to people in a simpler terms how these things work technical, because people's kind of understanding of it is quite different. I was in a
Yes.
professor's house, a very professor last 2 weeks, and one of the things he said, no, AC is not heavy load. I said, what? It's not really, sir. you know. So it's always we're in this industry. We really appreciate what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
And the more we go and relate, the more we get to understand and even improve within the industry. There's a huge gap, huge vacuum that needs to
Honestly,
be filled up. And the
honestly,
way we are going within Nigeria, there is no solution. Renewable energy is the only solution. And
that is it. Mm.
that is the truth about it. Thank you
That
very
is
much
it.
for the.
You're welcome, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, any other question? So, in the absence of any question, I think we can actually call it a day. Till we meet again next week, we hope and pray that our networks will be very stable. Because myself, I battled this network whole thing here today. So, but to the glory of the Almighty, at least we have been able to meet, because an hour ago or 2 hours ago, it was actually hell for me to get connected to do menial jobs, but now at least we're able to do it. So thank you very much, my guys. Thank you, my people, for having time to join us and discuss, to share knowledge. Till we meet next week. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, engineer. Well done.
Thank you, sir.
All right then. Good night. Have you?
Good night. Thank you. Oh, okay, Mohammed, you're raising your hand. So thank you, Mohammed. I don't know. So you could actually unmute your mic if you want to add something. Or is just a waving? Are you just waving us? So thank you.